Verbs. Auxiliary verbs. Main verbs. Regular verbs. Irregular verbs. Verb 1. Verb 2. Verb 3.
Hi everybody! I am Teacher Vlad and the best, the most beautiful and the most effective speaking training system Beautiful English. Today we will learn about verbs. At first you should know that there are auxiliary verbs and main verbs. We use auxiliary verbs to make sentences complete. They don't have their own meaning, that is why you shouldn't translate them when you work with a sentence. Main verbs show actions. They have their own meaning, that is why you should translate them when you work with a sentence. Let's have a look at this slide to review what we have already learned about verbs. In the upper right hand corner you see a boy. He is sitting on a chair and doing nothing. You should remember that when we speak about things or about people who do nothing just to tell about their qualities or location, we use auxiliary verbs. He is a boy. To make an interrogative sentence, we move the auxiliary verb is and put it at the beginning of a sentence before a subject. Is he a girl? To make a negative sentence, we put the negation not after the auxiliary verb. No, he isn't a girl. On the left, you see a boy who goes to school. Now the boy does something. Since the boy does something, a sentence will have a main verb that shows what boy does. A boy goes to school. Since both interrogative sentence and a negative sentence should have the auxiliary verb, we should take the auxiliary verb do, does, and put it at the beginning of a sentence before a subject. Does he go to school? Since does has the ending es, a main verb shouldn't have the ending es. To make a negative sentence, we should take the auxiliary verb do, does, put it after a subject, and put the negation not after the auxiliary verb. Please try to remember these simple grammar rules so that you always know how to make interrogative and negative sentences. Now let's have a look at this slide. On the left, we see that there are auxiliary and main verbs, and that main verbs are divided into regular and irregular verbs. We also see that there are three verb forms: verb 1, infinitive, verb 2, past simple, and verb 3, past participle. On the right, you see that there are three tenses: past, present, future, and underneath you see time markers for each tense. Look at them and try to remember. Now let's have a look at auxiliary and main verbs in more details. We see that there are three auxiliary verbs in English: to be, is, am, are, was, were, will be. To do, does, did, will do. To have, has, had, will have. And we also see that main verbs are divided into regular verbs and irregular verbs. Regular verbs aren't changed and have the ending ed in the second and in the third form: finish, finished, finished. Irregular verbs are changed in the second and in the third form. Since most of English verbs are irregular, each time you see an irregular verb, write it down in all the three forms into your exercise book. You can find all the three forms of an irregular verb in the table of irregular verbs, or you can Google them and Google will give them to you. Underneath you see the examples: do, did, done; go, went, gone; cut, cut, cut. Pay attention to the fact that there are irregular verbs that aren't changed. In the next slide you see some sentences example. You can see the structure and you can also see how a sentence structure is changed in the interrogative sentence. The auxiliary verb is pink, the main verb is red. You see that some sentences have only auxiliary verb: she is a girl. Some sentences have only main verb: He works at school. And some sentences have both the auxiliary and the main verb. She has bought a car. Look at this slide attentively and try to understand and remember how to know which verb is the auxiliary verb and which one is the main verb. This slide shows which auxiliary verb we use in one or another case. We use the auxiliary verb to be when a subject doesn't do anything. We just want to tell about its qualities or location. I am at home. I were at home last week. I will be busy tomorrow. We use the auxiliary verb to do to make interrogative and negative sentences. A subject does something. I work every day. Do I work every day? No, I don't work every day. We worked last week. Did we work last week? No, we didn't work last week. We use the auxiliary verb to have to make sentences in perfect tenses and in passive voice. I have worked hard lately. Have I worked hard lately? No, I haven't worked hard lately. She had already gone when I came in. I will have finished reading by noon. In this slide, we see when we should use verb 1, verb 2, and verb 3. We use verb 1 infinitive in the present tense. I always work hard. We use verb 2 in sentences in the past simple tense. She went to school on Monday. And we use verb 3 in the sentences in perfect tenses. I have worked hard this week. And in sentences in passive voice. The work is done by me. And in the last slide, we see that we can find all the three verb forms either in the table of irregular verbs at the end of a dictionary or in Google. Just type do three forms, for example, and Google will give you them. Then Google, write all those three forms in your exercise book and memorize them. I hope this lesson was useful and helped you to understand everything you should know about verbs. However, in order to be able to make correct English sentences and speak English fluently and correctly, you should learn speaking English. You should practice speaking English. Beautiful English speaking training system makes practicing English easy and effective because it has many beautiful, powerful, and very effective speaking training tools and speaking simulators. If you start to learn speaking English from scratch, you should pass my reading and writing course, elementary English course, basic English course, and English grammar tenses course. After passing all those courses, you will be able to understand English grammar, make correct English sentences in all the grammar tenses, and speak fluently and correctly in all the grammar tenses. So what are you waiting for? Enroll to beautiful English courses and start speaking English fluently and correctly right now. I wish you good luck in mastering English. Yes, with beautiful English you can do it.